at the Fortune 500 level, right, with companies like that, I think they're mainly looking at SAP or Oracle. And then at the other than that, right, I think the players that I most commonly see and hear about are eCustoms, Amber Road, and OCR, and maybe Integration Point. And then there's these other, what I would describe as like there's a hodgepodge, right, of other vendors that you don't see as much presence from in terms of conferences and visibility.
Got it. And are there that makes sense. Are there any main conferences within this space?
There are some of them are. There are some government conferences, and then there are for a lot of private ones. So the government one that's big is BIS. It's called BIS Update, and I don't know if they've changed the name on that recently, but it's an annual. There's one big annual meeting that happens in Washington, D.C. that's sponsored by the Department of Commerce. BIS is Bureau of Industry and Security.
Yeah.
So it historically was called Update, and I forget now if they've changed the name, but that's a once-a-year one, and there's a big trade show tied to that, and so certainly anyone who's really serious in this space for commercial software for global trade management is going to they would be there.
Okay,
is my guess. And then there's outside of that, there's an equivalent one for the West Coast, but that's tends to be a smaller meeting in terms of numbers. And then there's a host of private, ones that happen through professional societies, mainly through professional societies, but the BIS Update's the big one.
Got it. That's helpful. Sorry to take a track there. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, yeah, sorry to interrupt. This has been very helpful. Thank you, Jennifer, for taking the time so far. Just a quick question from me. On the four kind of, and I'll characterize them as middle market vendors, so eCustoms, Amber Road, OCR, and Integration Point. Like, what's the right way to think about those relative to each other? Is there one that's the clear leader, or others that are maybe a legacy leader, and kind of some others are up and coming? Like, what's the kind of trend of those four vendors?
I can tell you some trends. I don't know I can speak to trends for all four of them, but eCustoms historically has had the majority share for universities, and I think that's been their legacy, and they are, over the last few years, they've been trying to grow their industrial side. I don't really have a sense of how successful they've been on that side, but that was my general sense of things. And then certainly on the university side, most universities, if they have a solution, they use visual compliance. Amber Road. That being said, it's also in the last 5 years or so been recognized. It's been growing recognition, I should say, that universities need to have software solutions and need to pay attention to these regulations. So there's definitely growing interest in the university space, and you see that with Amber Road and their presence at conferences. And I see that they've had, based on the white papers and conversations with people, they've had success with getting into some universities. I don't really have a refined sense of scale beyond that, except to say they certainly have had some success, and they're persistent. You routinely at the university export controls conferences will see both of those vendors. And then OCR is, I would say, is trying to get into the space for universities, and has had, I think their history is more within the corporate side. An Integration Point I just hear about every so often. You don't necessarily see them as present at such events, but their name seems to pop up more often than some of the others.
Got it.